Hey guys, I'm Chesapeake. Just going to do a quick video on kind of my take on a ridgeline quilt hook. Since I lost mine, I had to come up with a kind of a solution out on the trail one day to keep my quilt from sliding off my feet and my shoulder. And just a couple little things I do to make it easier for me. So instead of the ridgeline quilt hooks that I had from Dutch, what I did was I just take a small piece of shot cord, make a loop, and then lark set it to the ridgeline and clip the suspension into a micro S-beaner. And what that does is, when I lay down in the hammock, you can see it sends the suspension up to keep the quilt locked in place right here, and it doesn't slide off my feet when I get in. And I do the same thing on the head end, as you can see here. Keeps it right here on my shoulder, so it does not move at all. Now, normally I wouldn't have this large of a loop and that just regular mini beaner, but for the demonstration purposes I made it a little larger so you guys could see how I do it. And you don't have to have both sides going up through the clip here. You can just do one side or the other. You give yourself a little bit more play if you just have your shoulder and your feet side, and then the off side, I guess you'd say, not clipped in. It'll give it a little bit more play to move around a little bit if you want to. But I'll clip it in the other way, not clipped onto the ridge line. And you can see I just got a regular mini carabiner here, and I'll try to unclip it if I can. And you'll see, as soon as I get in the hammock, so it can move freely here. It's not pressed onto the ridge line. Let me move that out of the way. So I'll set it kind of right where I was before, and as soon as I get into the hammock and start to move around, this will slide back, and the quilt, if you can see here, it's real high, but as this moves back, the quilt drops down. So it's really changing that angle and where your quilt is. So now it's up real high, and I'll get in the hammock, and then I'll lay back, and you'll see how it moves back. Now, as I'm moving around, obviously this is exaggerated, but it's moved back quite a bit already, so that the angle's changed, and you know, it's probably not going to slide off my feet, but there's a little bit more chance of it doing that. So you can still do it that way. I've done it that way before when I didn't have a piece of shot cord or paracord or whatever, lark set it onto the ridge line. And I do use shot cord just so there's a little bit more give in, you know, with the quilt. There's a little bit more give to it, but you know, you don't have to use shot cord. I do. So I mean, it keeps it in place. There's nothing I can do here to get it to move under my feet. And you know, the same thing with my shoulder. It's right here, and you know, I'm moving around really good, and it's not just because, you know, because it's stuck in place. This line isn't going to go anywhere. It's not going to come off. It's not going to come out. There's nowhere for it to go but to stay in this angle right here and to keep it locked right on your shoulder. So that's, you know, one thing I do to keep my quilts, especially when it's colder. So, you know, if I'm using a quilt rated below 30 degrees, I'm going to have it clipped up to the ridgeline somehow. You know, be it this way with a piece of shot cord and just a regular mini beaner, or you know, a big carabiner like that, if that's all you have. I'm going to have it clipped on here, especially on the foot end where it's, you know, where it can really easily come off. I'm going to have it clipped on into a mini beaner or a micro beaner, and it will not come off at all. It'll stay right on your feet all night. And this carabiner right here is to basically it's making an adjustable ridge line. I've just put it in, and I've taken the excuse me, the ridge line through it a couple times, and now I've shortened the ridge line up and give myself a little bit more sag for the same length hammock. And I really like a deep sag, but this is the hammock I sleep in every night inside. And when I take it inside, I'll shorten it up a little bit to give myself because you know my hang spots or my hang points aren't as far apart as this in my bedroom. So I'll give the hammock a little bit deeper sag to allow me to use the hammock in the same distance, I guess you'd say. Other than that, like I said, I usually don't use this, but you can, but it does slide back. So here's a close-up. It's just a regular Night Eyes micro S-beaner, and then any kind of loop that you have, you can lark's head to the ridgeline, and then that will, you can adjust it. You know, when you find a spot that's comfortable for you, you can slide it back. If you want it really far back, you can slide it up, and once it's there, it's not going to move at all. Another thing I do is I take my stuff sack, and I've got a small shot cord loop attached to the end of the stuff sack here. Here's the end of the stuff sack. On the other end of the stuff sack, there's another shot cord loop. You know, this is just big for demonstration purposes. And I pass the line through. I pass the end of the loop of the shot cord through the loop of the stuff sack, and then I tighten up the cord lock to keep it from slipping out. So now the stuff sack is locked into the cord lock, and then I can tighten it up, and I've got a peak shelf. Instead of just having my stuff sacks and on the end of the hammock not doing anything, I've now got a peak shelf that all I've got to do to get stuff out of it, if I'm laying in my hammock, I'll just slide this down and it lowers, and then I can open it up. And this is just the stuff sack that came with my Blackbird XLC, and in here I've got, as you can see, there's still, so I can probably stuff some more stuff in here still, but already in this stuff sack I've got a hat, a balaclava, and a down vest, all in the stuff sack of my hammock. And then I can just hang there out of the way when you don't have anything in it. Just tighten it up like that and it's out of the way. So when you want to get in it, like I said, you just slide it down when you're laying in there, and then that lets you be able to open it up and just reach in and grab what you need, and then all you got to do is just close it, and it closes back up and it's out of the way again. So those are some simple things that I do to kind of make it easier for me. I've got my my ridgeline bag there, my little ridgeline pouch I got from Simply Light Designs. I use that quite a bit to, you know, I put my light in there, or sometimes I'll clip my light into a little beaner I have on this prusik right here. So other than that, you know, that's it really keeps your place, your quilt locked in when it's cold out, and that's really important. So if you have any questions, just let me know. And it is pretty cold out. Here's the bay, and it's pretty frozen, as you can see. So it's really important to have that quilt locked in place, right on your feet and on your shoulder when you go to sleep, knowing that you're not going to wake up in the morning or in the middle of the night with a gap and the quilt underneath of you. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, let me know. See you later, guys.